There is so much advice telling runners to slow down. It's well-intentioned, sometimes helpful, sometimes accurate, but it doesn't always apply. I'm getting rid of most of the slowest running in my training. And run training isn't just about training physiology. It's not just about making the heart and lungs fitter and stronger. Running is also a skill, and that's often what's missed. And it's the skill of running that I need to develop in order to reach my marathon goals. More running volume tends to lead to better marathon times, but that's when you're taking thousands and thousands of people and averaging out the data. On an individual basis, there is a lot of variation, and it's never as simple as just do more. And running more tends to get me injured. My main injury issue has been my Achilles tendon. You could say my Achilles is my Achilles. Muscle load and activity is different at different running speeds. And essentially the rule is the faster you run, the more activity there is in the muscle groups. In particular the hamstrings, and to a lesser extent the quadriceps and the glutes. But what's a bit different is the calf unit. Slower running still heavily loads the calf and the Achilles tendon, adding to the injury risk in that area, while undertraining the other muscle groups in my legs. But running faster doesn't add all that much loading to the calf and Achilles. Well, up to a point. But what it does do is give a bigger stimulus to the other muscle groups, the glutes, the hamstrings, and the quads, that are all important to hit the running speeds that I want to maintain for the marathon. Thought I got a break in the rain to walk the dog. Looks like we were wrong about that. But how slow is slow? Well, slow is relative to the individual. So for me, for my experience, my fitness, my goals, slow tends to be between 6 minutes and 7.5 minutes per K. I've done a lot of running, a lot of long runs at those speeds, in particular preparing for the ultra marathons. But slow isn't purely just about the speed itself. It's about the way that I run. And there's a clear, distinct style of change when I get down to those slower speeds. They are so far removed from the way that I need to run to hold the speeds that I want, which are close to 4 minutes per K for the marathon itself. But I've had a purpose to the slower speeds. And I ran most of these while preparing for ultra marathons or really aiming to get some volume with low heart rate. So I think MAF heart rate type training. But it hasn't made me faster. Don't know why I wore my glasses on that walk. No real sunshine. So the pace calculator. I like using the Macmillan running calculator. I put in the last race, 10,000 metres or 10 kilometres, 42:45, and I look at the paces that it gives me for the recovery runs, taking the slowest pace, 5:53 per kilometre. And essentially my rule of thumb is not to run slower than that. But what does this mean, or how does it really work? Well, if I'm not recovered enough to be able to hold a pace faster than this, or it's seriously too much effort or intensity to keep the paces up, then I'll cut the running short. I'm not ready to run. And no, this isn't about upping the intensity and pushing the pace on all my sessions and just trying to flog myself and force myself faster. It's really about eliminating the extra slow running in my training that was leading to some injury problems. By eliminating those extra slow paces, I'm hoping that I'll have more energy, less fatigued, and better able to handle and run the moderately slow running and the faster running in the training. And how did this week go? So this long run is 23 kilometres and aiming for somewhere between 5:40 and 4:50 pace. I think I got carried away in the middle portion and ran too fast for this run. I called it quits at 20.5 kilometres, so I didn't quite make the 23k. Reason being is the run started falling apart after 18 kilometres, which is better than the 20k last week when it started falling apart around 16k. So I got an extra 2k out of that. I was only going to reinforce slow, poor technique. With the faster running that I'm doing and trying to get that form up, it feels easier to run faster. However, the intensity is still up, so if I go for long enough, that faster running does catch up with me, like it did today. For the first part of the week, my left knee, or in particular the patellar tendon, I overcooked it. So I gave it the space to recover, and that resulted in a lot less running during the week. But it seemed to work, and by the end of it, I was able to put together a 12 by 200 metre session with 200 metre floats without any pain. The volume was cut down a lot, but I needed it. I think if I pushed it and kept those sessions up, well, I was going to suffer over the coming weeks. Right, that's a session done well before breakfast, well before the sun gets up. I'm about to go to work, but the session was 12 times 200 metres at a pace between 5 and 3k race pace with a 200 metre float. So that worked out to be about 46 to 49 seconds for the on 200s and aiming for 52 to 54 for the floats. I struggled with the floats a bit. If my concentration just went off a little bit, I slowed right down, and I felt like stopping before the 8th rep, but once I got past that, even though the intensity felt harder, I didn't feel like stopping. And you know what? I feel better after the session than I did before. Everything just seemed to loosen up and my running feels great. The cool down, I didn't feel spent or wasted, just felt like I was winding down after a good hard run. After the rest of the week, it's a good way to finish.